Hi, this is Guy Shavit with Signamax, and in today's video I'm going to show you how to configure VLANs on a C-300 series switch. What we're going to do is configure a simple network that has two C-300 series switches and two user VLANs as well as a management VLAN and of course a trunk interconnecting all the VLANs between the two switches. So currently both switches are set to default VLAN settings, which means all ports are and the management is on VLAN 1. And I have this computer as well as two point-of-sale devices, one on the same switch as I'm connected and the other on a second switch, and an IP camera. And currently I can ping both the camera and the two point-of-sale devices from my computer. So I'm going to first go to the switch that is remote, that my computer is not currently connected to, which is this one. And I am going to add the VLANs. We're going to enable the VLANs. And for VLAN 12, I am also going to enable the layer 3 interface because VLAN 12 is going to be our management VLAN. We want to be the IP address of the switch to be accessible from that VLAN. We can give names for the VLANs if we want to, but that's not mandatory. And of course we could configure access to the switch management for multiple VLANs, but for this scenario we do not want to do so. Now we have 4 VLANs on this switch, and we need to assign which ports are going to be associated with which VLAN. We have 3 ways to do that in a C-300 series switch. We could either edit the ports that are members of a VLAN by the VLAN, we can do it by interface, or we can do it by an interface range. Since we have multiple ports that are going to be configured similarly, I'm going to do it by interface range. And according to our diagrams, ports 1 to 4 are going to be on VLAN 11, which is the camera VLAN, and they're going to be untagged because these are access ports. Access is the type that you would configure when you have an unaware or VLAN unaware device connected to this port. Trunk is going to be the type of connection that we have between switches. And hybrid, it can be either an edge device or a device that is VLAN aware. So we're going to configure these ports on VLAN 11, as I said, untagged. We're going to apply. We configure ports 5 to 8 as access on VLAN 10. And we are going to configure port 10, which is our inter-switch link, as a trunk. And we're going to tag all 3 ports on it, all 3 VLANs on it, I'm sorry. Now the PVID is the default VLAN ID for any incoming frame that is not tagged. Now the scenario we're setting up here at the end, all VLANs are tagged, but the switch still needs configured what is it going to do, where is it going to place a frame that arrives that is untagged. I'm going to leave it on VLAN 1 for the moment, but we could have put it at 12 for the management if that's what we wanted. Okay, now we are going to provide an IP address on that management VLAN. We see here that VLAN 1 has an IP address, VLAN 12 does not. We are not going to see the VLANs 10 and 11 on this list because we did not enable the layer 3 management on them. And we're going to add an address on VLAN 12, and it is going to be, let's say this. I'm going to provide it an appropriate net mask and apply. Okay, now before we configure our local switch, we're already going to see that we lost IP ping connectivity to both devices that are on the remote switch. Both the camera that's on VLAN 11 and the point-of-sale device that's on VLAN 10, and the reason is that my computer right now arriving is still on a switch that's not configured, so it's still on VLAN 1. I still have access, of course, to the point-of-sale device that is on the same switch as I am because we have not configured VLANs on that at all yet. So now let's go to the other switch, and we will configure the same VLANs. It's going to be the same configuration. Oops, sorry about that. We wanted to enable the status. The only difference is going to be that I am going to leave one port on this switch that's going to be on VLAN 12 for management, so that we can manage the switches. And that's going to be port 8, which is what I'm currently connected to. Okay, 1 to 4, access on VLAN 11. 5 to 7 is going to be access on VLAN 10. Now, if I configured port 8 currently to be on VLAN 12, I would lose access to the switch management because I have yet to provide it an IP address on VLAN 12. So what I'm going to do once I configure the trunk is I'm going to first make sure that I have an IP address for it on VLAN 12, and then I will change that to port to VLAN 12. Okay, IP add 1212. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and configure port 8 to be an access on VLAN 12, not 21. And I'm going to apply. And once I apply, I'm going to lose connectivity to the switch because the IP address that I have in my browser here is the IP address that was on VLAN 1. I'm going to have to change it to the IP address that we configured for VLAN 12. And it might take a second to provide us access, and we should be able to also access the other switch as well. Oh, looks like I did not put in the 12 here correctly. Let's try that again. Okay, there we go. And now we can log in again. And log into the second switch. Okay. So now we have this configuration, as I mentioned. We have a point-of-sale device here that's in VLAN 10. We have another point-of-sale device on the other switch that's in VLAN 10. Camera in VLAN 1. Management of both switches are in VLAN 12. And currently, my computer is connected to a port here that's in VLAN 12, which is why I could access both switches, but cannot access the camera or the point-of-sale devices. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to physically move my computer over from that port 8 to, let's say, to port 7, which was on VLAN 10. And I just did that. I'm going to let it connect, and we're going to see that we can now reach both of the point-of-sale devices. If I move my computer over to port 3 on that same switch, which is on VLAN 11, give it a second. I've lost connectivity to both the point-of-sale devices and gained access to the camera that's on it. Obviously, when I'm in VLAN 11 like this, I do not have access to the switches themselves, right? Because we did not configure that I'd be able to access the switches from VLAN 11. It's a user VLAN, not an administrative VLAN. So I'm going to move myself back to port 8 so I can get back to these switches. And I want to show you a couple of things on the switches. First of all, we're going to look here under our dynamic MAC address table. And I'll do that on both switches. And we're going to see that we have the switch has learned a host of devices on the different VLANs and different ports. We're going to see on VLAN 12, VLAN 11, VLAN 10. There's some older devices here that haven't aged out yet on VLAN 1, but as time passes they will, because we no longer have anything connected in VLAN 1, and similarly in the other switch. Now, one important thing to note is, and this is true for all enterprise switches and definitely all Signamax switches, whenever I made any change in any of the pages on the configuration, it applied immediately, right? Once when I configured the VLAN, I said apply, that's it, it was done, it started acting. But if the switch is reset now, it will revert back to the previously saved configuration, because I have yet to save it to the startup config. And that's a very important step. We've got the button over here that says Save Current Settings. I'm going to click on it. We're going to get a Save Success message. I'm going to do the same on the other switch, and only now am I done, and if I reboot the switches, they will come back with the same configuration. There we go. So that's it. That's how you configure VLANs on the C-300 series switch. Thank you very much.